Hello everyone, my name is David Awad. I'm a double major in computer science and physics at Rutgers in New Jersey. I'm also one of the organizers of HackRU. So welcome to Local Hack Day, and I'm hopefully here to teach you a little bit about Android so that you can start messing with it in your hacks. This is aimed at someone who's done a little bit of front-end web development and maybe a little bit of back-end as well. But if you haven't, don't worry, it's not too complicated. So hopefully this will be helpful for you, and let's jump in. So this is a repo I have on my GitHub. It is a fork and a quick shout out to Are You Mad, which is the Rutgers Mobile App Development Club, and a quick thank you to Shreyas, who wrote the original code base, and I simply made a big write-up of my notes, and that ended up getting pretty popular. So I gave a talk on this at Rutgers, and I've shared this repo with a bunch of friends. You can find it online at github.com/davidawad/simpleandroid. Also, feel free to hit that star button in the top right. It's kind of a big deal. Anyway, so this is a pretty simple app. It's meant to be an intro to Android for people who have done front-end web development but want to get used to the mobile space but have never done anything with it before. So the nice thing about Android is that it's basically like, think of XML as your HTML. Your XML will define what elements you have on your screen and where they go, and then your Java will kind of act as your click handlers and will handle all of your users' behavior. And so what this app does is pretty straightforward. It is a simple Android app. You open it up and you can type in some text, and if you hit the red button or the blue button, the text you have typed in will pop out over here in either red or blue, depending on which button you click. So quite exciting stuff. And if you hit that next button, it will open up a new Android activity. And so you'll learn a little bit more about what all that means in just a bit. So hopefully you've used GitHub before. If not, it's no big deal. You can just install Git on your machine using either Brew or Aptitude, depending on what operating system you're on. And then just clone the repo and open this up as an Android Studio project. You can just open up Android Studio and hit Import Project and navigate to this folder. So when you first run this thing, you're going to see a window that looks something like this. And so I ran this on my phone, and this is just a screenshot, where you can type whatever you want in. You hit the red button or the blue button, and this should not surprise you what's happened. This is my text, etc., etc. So here's how it works. Most of the hierarchy of Android happens through activities. So activities are sort of like execution contexts for Android applications. So whatever the current activity is whatever the user can see while they're currently using the phone. So the one activity that we have here that's handling this text input is called main activity, which is the default activity name for Android when you just create a new project. So inside of here, you can look, I have links in the third paragraph underneath how it works, which is mainActivity.xml and mainActivityCompleted.java. So if you open those up in new tabs, you can see some stuff going on, and when you mess with this in your GUI in Android Studio, you can kind of drag the buttons around, and what it does is it generates this XML for you. And so some of this, if you've seen HTML before, should look a little bit familiar, because you can see that there are some button tags and something called an edit text and a text view. So here's what these are. If we look back at this screenshot, you have 3 buttons, some text that's rendered here dynamically based on your hitting these buttons, and then a text entry form. So this text entry form is called an edit text in Android, and the thing right underneath it is your text view. And so what happens is when you type your text in and then tap one of these 2 buttons, Java has handlers set for these buttons so that when you tap on them, it looks over at the edit text and says, oh, I'm going to grab whatever text is inside of here and simply render it on the text view and then change its color. So if you look at what that looks like inside of mainActivity.java, you can see a bunch of imports up here for Android-related things like Android widget.button and Android widget.editText and widget.textView. And So inside of here, we have our public class main activity completed. You initialize your different things. You have your edit text, your buttons. So you have a little thing here that says protected void on create, bundle saved instance state, on create, set content view, and what you're interested in is everything around line 34 and under, where you create a pointer to the red button, a pointer to the blue, a pointer to the next button, a pointer to the input, and a pointer to the output. And if you look, you're just finding these by IDs, where if you look here, it says r.id.red button, blue button, next, input field, output view, and these are all declared inside of the XML. So inside of your Java, you can link directly through something called the r.java file, which is short for it's kind of like a global resource file that's generated as you create elements inside of your XML. So inside of the XML, you have a button with an ID, blue button. You have IDs, blue button, input field, output view, etc. And the next button. So you have pointers to each of these in order for you to set click listeners, so that when those buttons are interacted with, you can handle specific actions with the buttons or with forms, and whenever there are changes made, you can handle that in your Java and readjust your XML however you wish. So if you look here, we just have a red.setOnClickListener, which essentially says that on click, your input text will be equal to input.getText.toString, where input is a pointer to the edit text that the user would be typing text inside of. And then you would say output.setText, and you would pass in the string that you wanted to set it to. And then, pretty simply, just like you would do in CSS, you would say output.setTextColor, and then pass in from the color class color.red. But you could pass in any colors you'd want here if you wanted to get fancy with it. Color.red is just a preset one that's convenient to use here. So you have the same exact thing for the blue button, and that's what enables you to tap between the two. And other than that, all we really do is fire it up in Android Studio, and you can, when you run this, also have a click listener for the next button, which will send you to a new activity. And that's actually all that goes into it. So if you wanted to get started with doing really basic Android and doing things like simple input-output, you could set up some buttons, set up some text entries, and set click listeners. And then you can do everything that you were able to do in Java before inside of the context of these on clicks or on creates or what have you. And hopefully this has helped you out by demystifying Android just a little bit. But I promise it is a fun platform to build for, and it's really interesting. I personally like it a lot. So have fun, and please feel free to make pull requests or leave me issues and questions if you are having any trouble with this or you feel like there are any improvements to make. I should also mention that Are You Mad puts out a couple more workshops, and I have some incomplete notes on further apps that you can build using things like parse and pinging APIs and making HTTP requests from Android, which will probably be of relevance to you if you're building something for local hack day. So hopefully that's all helpful to you. Feel free to reach out to me if you need anything. And again, another shout out to Shreyas for the original code base. So hopefully that's helpful. Thank you guys very much.